Hi loves, welcome back to the channel Style by C. On today's tutorial will be on how to make this beautiful Hida Basis outfit. Do subscribe to the channel, share to friends. Don't forget to turn on your notification bell. We'll be dropping back-to-back interesting videos. Thank you so much. Don't forget to share, give us a thumbs up, leave your suggestions on the comment section. Right? See ya. Thank you so much. So guys, the first thing we are going to be cutting out is the skirt part of the gown. Alright, so I'm working with 46 inches, alright, long, including my seam allowance. So from then I'm going to be subtracting my half length. So my half length is 16 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark it here. So this is my half length. So from that point now, it's going to be my waistline. I'm going to be coming down to 9 inches where my hip measurement will be. So I'm going to insert my waist measurement here plus seam allowance. That is what I'm doing. So this is what I have now. From here I'm going to connect these two together. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Having cut out the front piece, I went ahead to fold my fabric into two again to cut out my back piece. Alright, so the back is going to be having a zip allowance. I left about 1.5 inches space for my zip allowance. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut out my back piece. Now we'll go ahead and work on the front. So I'm going to notch the center of what I have, then slit my back open. So guys, this is just like my normal basic body. From here to here is my half length, 16 inches. I added extra half an inch to it, making it 16 and a half inches. Alright, the next thing now is my shoulder measurement. This is my start point. My shoulder measurement is 8 inches. Okay, but because this is a sleeveless gown, I'm going to be removing 1 inch from my shoulder measurement. So I'm going to be working with 7 inches instead of 8 inches. So this is it here. So from here now I'm going to come down to 1 inch, which is my shoulder slope. This is my neck width, 3 inches, and I'm going to connect it together. So this is what I have. So whatever I have here, like I'm working with 7 inches here. I'm also going to go ahead and mark it on my chest line. Okay, so from here to here is my armhole. How I got my armhole measurements is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. You get your armhole measurements. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and divide my armhole by 2 to get the midpoint. So this is my midpoint. These 7 inches I have here, 7 inches I have on my shoulder. So from that point I'm going to be coming in by half an inch. This is to enable me create my armhole curve. So this is my armhole curve. Now the next thing to do is to insert my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 8.5 here, plus 2 inches seam allowance. Then my waist measurement is 7. That is when divided by 4. plus 2 inches seam allowance, and I'm going to connect these points together. So this is what I have. This is for my front piece. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And I'm also going to be drafting another pattern for my back piece. So guys, at this point now, I've gone ahead to draft out my back pattern. Just the same method we used for our front. Now, the difference is our back is going to be having a zip allowance. I use 1.5 inches for my zip allowance. Then we are going to be having a dart at the back. Alright. Now, the back is Queen Annie neckline. Like, there's how the back neckline is. Okay. So, the next thing I'm going to do now is at my chest line, which is here, I'm going to be marking the shoulder measurements I used. Remember, we worked to 7 inches, which is here. All right. So from this point now, I'm going to be coming into 2.5 inches to 3 inches. Let's work with 3 inches in. That is from my shoulder measurements, which I marked here. I came in by 3 inches. Okay. And this is the left of my shoulder measurement, left over what I have from my shoulder slope after removing the back neckline, which is here. So from this point now, I'm going to be connecting it to this point. So looking at it this way is not really what I want, because as I'm thinking that the neckline is not really slanting from this point now. Okay, so we're still going to go ahead and make some adjustments. So guys, this is what I have after marking it. All right, so you can still decide to maybe from this shoulder measurements you have here, you come in by 2.5 inches, which is fine. It's going to give you that like slant look, but I'm considering not adding allowance to my piece after cutting it out. Okay, so you either work with this or you work with this. 3 or 2.5 is okay. So the next thing I'm going to be working on now is this area of the neckline. So I marked here 2 inches for my normal back neckline. Okay, but now I've decided to reduce it to 1.5 inches, which is here. So I'm going to go ahead and retrace my neckline. This is what I have. So from that 1.5 inches, I'm going to be coming down to 2 inches. So this is what I have for my 2 inches, because our dress is going to be having a hook. Okay, but if you think maybe your 2 inches is too bold, you can decide to work with 1.5 inches. I'm just trying to use different measurements so that it will not be too confusing on us. So you either work with this is for 1 inches, this is for 2 inches. Now I'm going to be from this point now. This is the one I'm working with. We're going to go ahead and make a curve at this area. Then at this point too, you're going to be making a curve because you don't want to be having sharp edges. So this is what I have. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So I'm cutting it out now. Note for your chest line, if you think maybe you don't want it that the deepness is too up, for instance at this point now you feel like it's too up or you want it to come down more, it's totally fine. You can decide to come down by 1 inch or more. It depends on how deep you want your back to be, please. So don't say, depends on how deep you want your back to be. This is still fine. All right, so work with this. So you can alter it the way you want it to be. It's totally fine. So this is what I have. I'm going to go ahead and cut out this side. So this is what my back is looking like. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to close up this dart. You can decide to still leave it, maybe apply it if you are sewing on your dress, like you stitch on your fabric. You can decide to close it up this way and cut out on your fabric so that your dress will be dartless. Like you'll be having an invisible dart, but the dart is incorporated into the pattern paper. Okay, so this is what my back piece will be looking like. All right. So now this is my front piece. The next thing that's the one I'm going to be working on to create our cowl neck. So I'm going to go ahead and this is my chest line. That's where I'm going to be slitting it open. All right. Now you can decide to maybe measure from the upper part of your dress, from the shoulder maybe to 8 inches to 10 inches, depending on how deep you want your cowl neck to be. But for this tutorial, I'm going to be using my chest line. So I'm slitting this open. All right, I'm not going to like cut it off entirely. I'm going to be stopping a few inches. So this I'm going to be placing on my fabric this way. All right, so this is what we're going to have. So the more deeper you open it, the more effects of cowl neck you have, the more pronounced it's going to be. All right, so we're going to be working on transferring this to our fabric. So guys, so this is my front piece. I'm gonna head to place it this way. Okay, this is what I have. Now I'm going to be tracing it out. You can decide to go ahead and do this. You can decide to just cut it out. So this is what I'm going to be having. So this is what I have. Now I'm going to be notching where my shoulder stops. Like my shoulder slope. Remember we have a a neckline. Because that's where we're going to be joining it with our back piece. So which is here. I'm going to go ahead and give it a notch. So this is what we have. Now you can decide to turn this out with a lining, which is fine. You can decide to hem it, fine. You can decide to use a cotton bias to hem it, which is totally fine. All right, or you can decide to just fold this in, which is fine. So this is what we have. We're also going to go ahead and transfer our back pattern paper to our fabric. Alright guys, so I'm gonna ahead to transfer my pattern paper to my fabric, and this is what I have for my front. I'm using my fabric as my line and I'm turning it out with my fabric. Alright, so you can go ahead and bias the upper parts of here, which is totally fine. So the next thing I did was, this is where we notched and this is where we notched for our shoulder. So I went ahead and run a stitch on it, close my armhole and the sides. Alright, so I'm going to turn it out now. So when I turn it out, this is what I have. When I turn it out, this is what is looking like. So from this point now, this is our shoulder. This place is going to be joining to our back piece, and this is our cowl. If you look closely, you see that it's forming, it's coming out little, and it's giving what it's meant to give. Okay, so this is what we have. Now I'm going to be joining it to the down parts of my skirt. That's the center front of the gown, the down part of it. I'm going to go ahead and join it to this piece. So this is my front piece. I'm going to go ahead and join it together. So guys, I've gone ahead to turn out my back piece, and this is what it's looking like. This is what I have. All right, so I went ahead to join it to my down part of my skirt. After turning it out with my lining, I join it to my skirt piece, which is this. All right, now the next thing I'm going to do here is to fix the zip. Then this part of the down, the slit area, I'm going to be using a hemming gum. You can decide to sew it, which is totally fine, but I'm going to be using a hemming gum to fold it in, so there will be no like stitch thread. There will not be thread on it. So I'm going to use a hemming gum and hem it, fold it in. All right, so that's what I'm going to do to the slit. Then attach my zipper to this part. All right, so when I'm done with this, I'll go ahead and join my two shoulders together. That is my front shoulder to this back shoulder. So guys, when I'm done joining my two shoulders together, the next thing I went ahead to do was to shape my dress, which I have here now. I've gone ahead to run a stitch on it to shape it. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to attach a button to this my neck area. Okay, the back piece, there's going to be a button. After that, we are done with the dress. You go ahead and weave your dress, like interlock it or use a sewing measure to close the rough edges.